All right, I want to welcome everyone that's joined us. This is probably one of my most exciting calls we do each week. I do have such a belief about environmental issues that are affecting us. I got involved with the environmental industry. It's hard to believe 25 years ago when Lydia and I first started this and carrying this message. And I'd like to tell you the problem we've solved the problem, but unfortunately, it has just grown exponentially. So from a business standpoint, that's good. It gives job security, as we call it. But what I want to do before we get started is, as always, we do a disclaimer because that way we stay compliant. There's nothing we talk about on these calls concerning our products that are intended to treat, cure, or mitigate any illness. As we always say, our programs and products are not about your health, they're about your wellness. And what's the difference? Well, your health is not something that you can make a decision whether it's good or bad. But what you can make a decision about from a wellness standpoint is what you can do to change it. And that has to do with the air that you breathe and where you breathe it. It has to do with the water you use, and not just for hydration. You'll hear about that in depth tomorrow, but it's about the water you use for personal care. What? You can use water for personal care? Yep, you'll learn about that tomorrow. The water you use for your laundry to wash your dishes in. So anyway, and that you can clean your countertops with. And it's about the nutrition you consume. And what wellness is about is what you can or willing and financially able to do to bring these up to optimum. And that's where we step in. We like to think we can help educate you to what you can do. What you're willing to do is up to you. And when you make the decision to do something about it, we also like to show you what we believe to be the most economical way to do that. Tonight, it's called it's our class 2 of our CEU Continuing Education or Technology Wednesday. And this class, it's basic. You'll learn about environmental wellness. You'll learn about what we call the chain of contagion. It's how to bring an air of defense everywhere you go. You'll learn about why your laundry may be affecting your family's health and what you can do about it. And then, as I said, you'll learn about what is the most economical way to accomplish your environmental wellness goals. And what we talk about throughout this call and all our other calls is that it's not your fault. And that's what you're going to hear a lot through our calls. It's not your fault that you're being subjected to certain things that are out of your control. Where it is your fault is when you make a decision to make change. And that's what we want. We want it to be your fault that you make a decision to make change. You'll hear all of our trainers. And Tim, we're going to have to add you, I think, because you're starting to appear with us. But all of our trainers, we call ourselves naturopathic entrepreneurs. We're people that have basically monetized our own wellness programs. We take what we have discovered over the last, my gosh, Lydia, you and I go back, it's hard to believe, over almost, maybe I shouldn't say this, almost 40, 50 years when you and I first started in the applied nutrition industry back in the early 80s, and where our message has never changed. It's about what we do to help ourselves about this disruption and destruction of our natural order. And it's not something that it's what's happening. It's just part of life. It's changing this natural order into disruption. And it's disrupted. If you were on with us last night, we talk about the nutrition disruption. Tonight, we'll talk about the environmental disaster. And not outdoors. We're talking about indoors. We're talking about your indoor environment. Tomorrow night, you'll hear about the water side of it. But it's what we like to call the triad of health, the law, land, air, and water, and what you can do about it. For the last 7 months, our goal has been to educate you about the problem. We've talked to you about the 13 to 15,000 chemical companies that have brought jobs and income and security and retirement to Americans for the last, 60, 70 years. But we've also talked to you about the air pollution it's created, the way that that's polluted the ground and the way it's polluted the water. We've talked to you about forever chemicals that we're now dealing with that they say in almost every public water supply. And we've talked to you about the chain of contagion and what that is, that it's any enclosed, occupied, artificially conditioned space that you may find yourself in on any given day. Doesn't matter if it's your classroom, your office, your home. And the common denominators of those chain of contagions, the fact that when you seal up an indoor environment with deadly precision, you put people in there and you artificially condition it, you're going to, number one, remove almost 80 to 85% of what we call the natural organic energy that you find outdoors. Well, what's the problem with that? Well, the problem is that we know that's what creates living air. So it's not as living air. It's moving closer to dead, stale air. If you remove all the organic energy, there's none there, well, then things die. So we don't die in here. We gradually get unhealthy. Why? Well, because when we artificially condition it, unfortunately, remove about 100%, not 100%, but a large percentage of the negative charges. Without negative charges, everything is positively charged. Well, that sounds positive, Dwayne. Well, it's not, because all of these microparticles, these billions and billions of microparticles that you're introducing, your family's introducing and exhaling and sloughing off, and VOCs and chemicals and outgassings and chemicals that you use, they all stay suspended because they can't fall out of the air. And that becomes a conduit for, well, pathogens. We just went through 3 years of it. Coronavirus, viruses, bacteria, VOCs, allergens, asthma triggers, all of these things stay suspended and you become subjected to them. And I don't think any of you got up this morning and said, hey, Dwayne, listen, if I can, I'd really like to make all my indoor environments just as unhealthy as possible. It's not your fault that these things happen, but it's your fault that you decide to change this. You know, you didn't get up this morning and say, Dwayne, listen, I want to really make sure that my family and I join the 3.2 million people that died last year from indoor air pollution. And if you can, we'd like to get the kids involved too. So we'd like to get them to be part of that 230,000 deaths of children under age 5 that took place in 2020 because of these chains of contagions. And we know about the communicable diseases, but we want to get involved with these non-communicable diseases that indoor pollution causes: stroke, ischemic heart disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and don't forget lung cancer. We like to throw that in there too. I don't think you got up this morning and said that. And you didn't say, listen, we want to make sure we get exposed to that mold that now has been tested to be in 100% of every single chain of contagion, whether it's your home, your classroom, your office, your retail store, 100% have molds in them. So that way we can make sure we can affect our family's health. I don't think you got up this morning and said that. And it's not your fault that that takes place. Or did you want to make sure that you got all of these different inflammatory diseases, cardiovascular effects that they now know are contributable to indoor environmental pollution, lung function, emphysema? These all have a connection to indoor air pollution. And I bet you didn't get up this morning and go, hey, Dwayne, listen, when I turn that tap on to get that morning water or put my kids in the shower, could you make sure you throw a little arsenic in there, just for good measure? And hey, if there's any radioactive contaminants, or maybe, don't forget pesticides and herbicides. I really would like that in our drinking water and showering water. And listen, if you could throw some sex hormones, testosterone and estrogen, listen, put that in there because we really want it. And maybe if you could add some fluoride with some fluorine compounds, and listen, don't forget the chlorine, so that way we can have chloramines and trihalomethanes. And listen, I heard about Aaron Brockovich and the fact that 200 million Americans in all 50 states are now being subjected to hexavalent chromium. And we hear about the effect that can have on kids with all kinds of childhood cancers and leukemias. We'd like some of that in there too. And hey, Dwayne, don't forget about the microplastics, because we'd like some of that building up in our system. I don't think you got up this morning and said that. But when you turned on your morning tap this morning, guess what? Every one of you had some or all of it. Can you take care of that, Craig? In your morning tap water. It's not getting better. Tomorrow night, you're going to hear about what you can do about this. And so when we talk about disease that takes place, and Lydia will talk about this, You know, disease process is not an overnight process. You don't walk into a chain of contagion, take and breathe some bad air, and tomorrow you have lung cancer. Oh, no, no. This is progressive. You'll hear about this tonight from Liddy. And it's just like if you're 75 years old, like I am, and you haven't had your nutrition up to optimum. You haven't been hydrating with AIM water that will hydrate your cells and give you optimum health. And you have been breathing stale, polluted, dead air. You can't change this overnight. It's systematic, and Liddy will talk about this. How do you change dis-ease into ease? So, what we're going to talk about tonight is primarily your indoor environment. We're going to talk to you about the solution to the pollution, how you can remove 99% of that airborne pollutant from your air by simply taking this hand and plugging in a little black device, taking this finger and pushing on an on button, and that's how complicated it is. And you'll learn how to do that tonight. You'll learn how to turn your chain of contagion into what we call an air of defense. You'll learn how to restore that energy into these zones in your house. So now, instead of being a chain of contagion for you and your family, you're at fault for making it into an air of defense. And we're going to talk to you about how you cannot be part of this mountain of plastic that's filling up our landfills and poisoning our oceans. Did you know there's now enough plastic floating in the oceans, Craig, that they're the size of a continent? And they actually are now having permanent ecosystems thriving on them. It's just amazing what we've done. And you're going to learn how you can stop buying. You know, you hear Craig talk tonight about how for 13 years, is it 13, Craig? He has not spent a dime, not a single dime on a
18 years, Dwayne.
How many?
18.
18 years. He has not subjected his family to chemicals in their clothes. He has not subjected his family to chemicals in their sheets that they're sleeping on. And he has not, listen, tonight, as we're on this call, millions, tens of millions of Americans across this country are going to dump hundreds of millions of gallons of polluted wastewater out of their laundry into the streams and rivers of America. It's the number one pollutant of our streams and waterways is discharges from our laundries, and Procter & Gamble's not going to tell you about it. Mainstream news isn't going to tell you about it, but they're going to make the profit from the money you spend on this. You'll hear about the solution of this laundry pure. So tonight, our goal is to do what we do every night, is to educate you so you can make value-based decisions, so you can take the responsibility of turning your environmental liabilities into environmental assets. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Liddy to tell you how you can start the journey.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Dwayne. And I know that, all the things that you already said, is that we're in it together, but we can win it together. And I love the fact that we are actually talking about these massive problems, but we have a simple solution. So we are partnered with a company that has pivotal innovation technology. And this pivotal innovation technology is starting with a few supplements that actually can assist what's called to the internal well-being of our cellular activity and vitality. Because once you understand what's going to be spoken about tomorrow night, when it comes to the water assists in the delivery process. So if it can deliver across the cell membrane, get into the nucleus of the cell, then you can restore at the core and flush the garbage. So, but tonight we're talking about what's going on in our environment, and our environment is what's going on out there, right? But we know that what's going on, let's call it across the globe, will impact us 4 days from now. And what's going on here impacts them 4 days from now. So we coexist. Here's the other part. We've had a lot of fires this summer. And we know that there's a lot of fires that go to Canada, be it from California, be it from Idaho, be it from wherever it's coming from, right? Well, it shows up in the horizon. And there's actually a group of people called the business men and women in Rochester, Minnesota, where the Mayo Clinic is, and they're hosting the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, to come out and do a community so-called event next week, next Tuesday. And the interesting part of that whole conversation is like, what are they going to talk about? Here's what they're going to talk about: cumulative impacts of air pollution. The cumulative impacts of air pollution. And it's a community open house. We are impacted, whether or not we believe it or not. Then we have what is called ASHRAE. Now, ASHRAE is an association, and Tim Cummings is about to share with us just a minute what makes us unique. But I'm going to just share a point of knowledge. This was an article written in the Newsweek magazine, and the Newsweek magazine was written in 7/14 of 21. And it says, winning on the health and climate means embracing cutting-edge indoor air technology. And it talked about the fact that if it is that we're in this epidemic, and that we have what is called a epidemic, something happening. Pandemic is when people start to panic, and an endemic means is that, there's maybe no way out. Well, we're not in that. We're in the epidemic and the pandemic, right? So what happens is it says it hasn't just challenged our health care system and our economy, it's also challenged us to be smarter about how we reopen the world and the spaces without using dramatically more energy. Otherwise, we are risking, that's called solving a health care disaster while creating an environmental one. See, you can't actually run your HVAC 24/7. And that's what this Michael K. Dorsey, who was an environmentalist, he's talking about the fact that you have to look at the whole equation. So he says, if you want to reduce the pathogens and you need to have better air exchange in the indoor, then you have got to say, how do you manage it from the indoor space? Well, ASHRAE said to run your HVAC 24/7. Well, you increase your energy output, you change the carbon footprint, and that is not a solution. It costs people more just because they have to run it. So, and then the fires, and then you're taking in those so-called pathogens or a larger particulate matter. We know that children's brains cannot develop if it's a PM 2.5 or larger. There's a YouTube, go look at PM 2.5. And it actually talks about what's happening with the development of the children's brains. You think about the daycares, think about assisted living facilities, think about what's going on. I don't know what side of the spectrum you are or your loved ones are, but I will tell you, the brain is everything, right? And so then it's like tapping into your finances. We're really talking about how we can help you. And that's what this is so important. So we breathe 3,000 gallons of air every day. Take it all for granted. And when we start thinking about that, we know that when Ralph Nader was talking about how you are going to take a look at your life, you have to manage it at the source of use. So here's what this Michael K. Dorsey says. In addition to driving up the energy usage for governments and businesses and the economy, general experts have warned that these increases in the filtration static processes actually creates more static in your environment. What's static? It means more airborne elements. And airborne elements, and with the challenges, it says, fortunately, there's a better solution that is available that provides a cutting-edge ability to clean indoor air and doesn't increase energy use. That's what you're about to hear about. It's called active pure technology. Tim Cummings is about to tell us what makes us stand apart. Here's what it says. Advanced photocatalytic processes kills the pathogens that spread the severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, that causes the COVID-19 ailments. And so I'm going to let Tim Cummings open his mic and tell us about this amazing technology. PCO, Tim Cummings.
Thank you, Liddy. Good evening to everyone. Let me help you understand who I am, what I do. I am a registered engineer. I'm an industrial engineer. I look at functions and how things get done, how things operate, what works, what doesn't. And I've learned over the years, you can't really start to understand if you don't understand terms and technology. And so let me take a few moments to kind of lay some groundwork here. One of the important things that we need to be able to differentiate between is filtration and excuse me just a second. My mind is just
Purification.
Purification. Thank you. Filtration and purification. I talk to a lot of people and I say, well, do you have purification in your home? Oh yeah, I do. Well, what is it? Well, it's this box with air filters. I go, no, that's filtration. Well, what's the difference? Filtration is a process where, let's one step back. Air conditioning, heating is a dilutive process within our sealed homes and environments. What we do is we have a big pool of air and it's too hot or it's too cold. So we take a little bit of that air and we run it through our HVAC unit and we either heat it up or we cool it off and then we dump it back into the big pot of air. And the idea is if I get that air a whole bunch colder and then introduce it to the larger mass, we lower the total temperature of the larger mass. Or if we dump in heated air, we can raise the temperature of that mass. So air conditioning, HVAC, is primarily a dilutive process. We take a little bit, we work with it, and we add it back to the whole to change the level of the whole. Filtration works on that process. All the air that goes through a filter is acted upon, but it has to go through the filter. And as it goes through, the pores in the filter, depending on what their size is, will filter out larger particles and allow smaller particles that are smaller than the weave of the filter to pass through. And the quality of your filter will dictate how clean or how improved the air can be coming out of that filtration system. One of the challenges with filtration is as soon as you turn it on, as soon as air starts passing through the filter, it starts collecting those elements that it's trying to filter out. It starts to get congested on the filter. And it makes it harder and harder for air to pass through the filter, which means you have to apply more and more energy to the moving the air through. So as you start to use that filter, the more you use it, the more it degrades, the less efficient it becomes. And at some point you have to stop, go in and change the filter. Now that gets to be real fun because if you have pathogens that have been in the air and been caught in the filter, you haven't treated them anyway. You haven't killed them. They're still there. They're still viable. So when you go in to change that filter, you're being exposed to those things that have been trapped. So that's not a good situation, really. But filtration takes some of the air out of the room, runs it through the filter, cleans it up, and dumps it back to make the big volume of air a little bit better. Now, I'm sure you've walked along a brook or a stream and you see the water running down through the main channel. But you probably also noticed the big, still pools of water that are sitting there. And that water is basically stagnant. It's not flowing, or it's flowing a whole lot more slowly than the main flow through the channel. Air, like water, is a fluid. And in your home, when you turn on your HVAC system, you get currents of air that will be pulled into the register and go through the system and then be dumped back out. And it's called circulation. Well, the problem is only about 20%, and you can check with your HVAC guys, and they'll tell you, oh, this equipment will turn the air over in your home 6 times an hour. But what they're saying is they put enough volume through the system to equate to filling your house 6 times. But the reality is only about 20% of the air in your home actually gets pulled through the filter. And there's about 80% that's stagnant up in the corners and around and stuff that hangs there. And so we're cleaning up a smaller portion, but we're leaving a large portions of air in our homes really untouched. And that's what then, with the homes being sealed and we don't get a lot of circulation from the outdoor, it's all stuck indoors, that we start to have a buildup of these pathogens and contaminants and things that then attack our wellness, our health. So filtration works only on the air that comes through the filter. Now, what is purification? Purification is a totally different model. Instead of waiting for the air to come to the filter, purification develops particles that come out of the filtration unit and disperse in the air. And these particles actually will pierce the shells of viruses and bacteria and destroy their environment so that they cease to exist. This technology called ActivePure, and I'll tell you how it works in just a minute, but this technology of ActivePure has been tested. And for example, with the SARS-CoV-2 virus, within the volume that is specified within the equipment range, can remove any presence of any detectable presence of the SARS-CoV-2 virus from the air within 60 seconds. Okay, it actually reduces those elements. It reduces the bacteria. It reduces viruses. It reduces volatile organic compounds. And I'm going to tell you how it does that, but it goes out. And when you fire up one of our boxes there and it's producing ActivePure, those particles are coming out at about 836 miles per hour. Think about popping popcorn in your microwave. How long does it take for the smell to get through to the rest of the house? It's almost instantaneous, it seems like. Well, that odor travels the same way as these particles of ActivePure that are produced will go through your house. So you really don't have to worry about, well, if I have my box here, is it going to get to the other end of the house? Yes, it will. It will travel. If I have my box near the HVAC register, return air register, guess what? A lot of those particles are going to be pulled in, and they're going to go through my ductwork and clean up my ductwork while they're at it. So this is the difference between filtration and purification, is we want to be active. We want to go out and get the suckers that are attacking us and get rid of them. Okay. And so we don't want to wait for the air to maybe come amble through that filter and get cleaned up, and maybe not all the way cleaned up. So what is ActivePure? ActivePure is a technology developed originally by NASA that was used in the space program, still is on the International Space Station, but it's photocatalytic oxidation. Great big long 3 words that very simply mean photo, light, catalytic means cause a change to occur, and oxidation, we're producing oxidizers. You know, oxidation, when you light a match to a piece of paper and it burns, that's oxidation. It's reducing the paper to other components, to carbon, ash, to gas. Okay. The way this technology works is it takes UV light, it takes the catalyst that's in our cells, our ActivePure cells that are in our machines. That light going through those catalysts, it passes air, oxygen, O2, water vapor through the cell and produces hydrogen peroxide ions, hydroxyls, and other particles that come out and go into the environment and reduce the pathogens and clean up the air. They literally clean up the air in the International Space Station with this stuff. Now, how many times can they go open the window and air out the space station? You know, just can't do it. But this technology is what keeps the air fresh. Remember, all of our future plans for travel, to colonize, to put people on the moon, to live there for a while, to go into another planet, depends on being able to produce water, produce food, and maintain an environment that they can work in without having to be suited up all the time. On our space shots with our astronauts, we had them on pure oxygen. We go to Skylab, we can't have them in pure oxygen. We have to have them in a natural atmosphere, 20% oxygen, which is what we have here, 21%. So this is the technology that keeps that air clean enough to be used over and over and over again. So that's what we have. We have purification, which actually changes the bad air in our enclosed dwellings to good, healthy air that helps us to thrive. And it's as simple as that. Now you know the key things to ask for, to talk to someone. All of our equipment has filters in it, but it's primarily to protect ourselves. It's not to clean up the air. So when we operate, we're pulling air in, we're protecting the equipment inside, but it's what comes out that actually cleans up the air in your home, your environment, and stuff. And we have them all sizes. We have little portables. We have ones that are good for 2,500 square feet, which will do the average size home. We now have an XL model that goes up to 3,500 square feet, which is amazing. But you'll learn more about the different things that are available. That's the basics of what we have and how it works. And it's frankly the way God created the outdoors to work. And now we can bring that indoor and have it work for us.
Tim, thank you. That was I'm going to say genius in terms of how you kind of like put that all together for all of us to understand something that is sometimes complicated. And we say that this is what is called the silver bullet. This is the technology inside. When he used those words about what this is producing, Tim, you want to repeat that? What it produces?
Okay, it takes in air and water vapor, goes through the catalyst in those cells, it activated by the UV light, and it becomes hydrogen peroxide ions, hydroxyls, and other subatomic particles.
And that goes into the air and it starts scrubbing the air. And then when we know that pathogens have a membrane, it actually will take because it's a scavenger, will take a membrane off of that. Think of it like these particles, pathogens, mold, mildew, fungus, bacteria, viruses, they have their own living organism, right? They're a pathogen. And so they have a membrane. And so as a result of this so-called technology sends out those elements and pulls off a molecule off the membrane. And think of it like popping a balloon. So They go from living to dead to being nullified.
And Liddy, I promised to explain about VOCs, how we reduce VOCs.
Thank you.
That's very important. The ions are unstable. They have a charge and they want to get rid of, split off the oxygen and have hydrogen. And a hydrogen peroxide ion is a hydrogen atom and an oxygen atom. And they want to split off. So these long carbon chains that are VOCs, volatile organic compounds, formaldehyde, turpentine, alcohol, all these long chains, the hydroxyl or the hydrogen ion peroxide will split, and those oxygens that are freed up break those chains down into smaller chains that are not harmful to us. And so a lot of the volatile compounds are very odoriferous. They smell very strongly. They create odors. So when that happens, we can also eliminate those odors and have fresh, clean smelling, much like what you smell after a thunderstorm. So I like to keep my promise.
Thank you. As a matter of fact, what he just spoke about, and I know that we got Craig Stevens on the line. He's wearing the personal tonight. And so that's called the Fresh Air Personal. Somebody just called me right before the call and said, you know what, I know that things are kind of like gearing up a little bit. And we got some schools that have been closed and schools that have had like deep cleaning closing. And I approached one of those schools this week and they said, we got some things we just did a deep cleaning. But I said, but when the students arrive again, how do the germs jump off the desk or the doorknobs? And they said, got a point. I said, well, we have technology that scrubs the air and the surfaces 24/7. The germs don't even have to jump. We get them. And if you have an air filter like Tim just spoke about, is that 10 to 20% of the air in the space can go through the little chamber called your HVAC system. So it's called dilution of the pollution. We send the solution to the pollution and we go get it. So you could call it aggressive versus passive. We take a very aggressive 24/7 deactivating the living organisms that are the enemies in your camp. And my nostrils have a filter, but when I'm speaking, I'm not breathing through my nostrils. I'm breathing through my so-called mouth, right? And there's no filter. So I want my space to be clean. I mean, I have a business and I am on the phone, and people that have businesses, they, are on the phone and they're talking to people, they're in public, and all that matters. So that's the key. So we have a personal, fresh air personal, kind of like takes care of the zone when you're out in the space. That's called your transfer product, I like to say, from when you're not in an enclosed environment. So let's say that you're going to go to the grocery store, but you get in your car and then you've got one in your home. So Craig, can you hold up the one that's for the home? This is kind of like your 24/7 product that is going to be in your space, cleaning up all the spaces. And then when you go to the grocery store, it's running. The surfaces are clean. That's 7.5 pounds, runs on 43 watts, less than a 60-watt light bulb, right? So it's very low energy usage and high output. So it will clean up to 2,000 square feet. So it moves at 1,200 feet per second. So imagine making popcorn in the kitchen. Ask yourself, how soon can you smell that in the other side of the house, in your bedroom somewhere? And so it's all of a sudden, it's like, wow, it does move. So now you have that in your home. You could actually have it in your bedroom. You can have it, like Tim already said, by cold air return. It's going to do ductwork cleaning. How much does it cost to do ductwork cleaning? Can I say some numbers tonight? I actually was working with a pastor and his wife, and sometimes they are in transition, moved into this home, and she just got very sick. So they had to have their ductwork cleaned on a quarterly basis. Well, that ran about $450 per quarter. And so it wasn't really doing the trick. She really never did feel comfortable in there. But I said, you know why? Because when they're cleaning out the ductwork, you're loosening everything up. It goes through, it catches on a filter membrane, not destroying it. It doesn't inactivate the problem. It agitates the problem. And now you've got what is called a larger issue. So if it's agitating it, and now it's collecting on a membrane, then when it comes through, you have aerosol assault. I think about, going into a hotel, you sometimes have this, air conditioning come over you. It's like, I almost want to wear an umbrella, thinking like, what's coming over me? So, it's all those kinds of things. That's what's happening. So we start looking at this and say, what is it? So then we go from our home, go into the vehicle. Here's the vehicle called mobile unit. And the mobile unit is very small. It is chargeable. And this chargeable unit actually will charge for like 8-10 hours. Will hold the charge for 8-10 hours. And as a result of that, they have also one that is non-chargeable. And it's so this can be charged by a simple, like a phone charge connection. And the one that's not chargeable, it does have the international hookups as well. So we have a product. They're the exact same size. Nothing's different except for all the connections made the box a little bit smaller. So if you're starting to think about holidays, you're starting to think about gifts to give. If you gave the gift of life, you put it in your vehicle and you're going to go on a vacation, you don't even know where you're going to go to the hotel. This goes to the hotel with me. This goes in my suitcase. This goes in the rental car. This goes everywhere. I don't know who touched that, but I do know that when COVID was a deal, they went in and they wiped the steering wheel with baby wipes. Now, here's what I know about baby wipes. We're going to talk about it in a minute. It has quaternary ammonium on it, and that quaternary ammonium is a toxin. So now I put my hands on that steering wheel. No, I want this space clean. Then I'm going to talk about this next product. This is called the Pet Refresh. Pet Refresh. Now I'm going to give you a new acronym for the PET. It's called Poo Elimination Technology. Poo Elimination Technology. I read an article and it was talking about toothbrushes that have what is called fecal matter on them. Oh my gosh. So 60% of the toothbrushes that they tested had fecal matter on it. Why? Because when you flush the toilet, when males are urinating, or, you know, you just have the toilet open and you flush, there's always splash. And women actually are probably more aware of this because, you know what, sometimes it's like, why is this wet? You know, so I'm going to tell you something. It's in the air. So some people have said, well, Liddy, you know what I do? I actually put my, you know, toothbrush in the drawer. I said, you do? Oh my gosh. It's moist, right? And it's dark, right? And it's warm, right? Where does bacteria grow? In a perfect condition, dark, warm, moist. That's where it grows. And so the same thing happens if it is that you're starting to take a look at your HVAC. Well, it's dark, warm, moist. And you start, you know, processing, where does mold grow? Dark, warm, moist. And you say in your basement, and you start looking at all the things that might be invading that you're not even aware of. And you now have this new awareness. Now, the best part of this whole story is that you can take control of your own destiny just by having some simple technology. You turn this on or off, and no more potpourris and Febreze, no more volatile organic compounds. And what goes into that system, if it's in the air, it's everywhere. And so look at it from that perspective. How can I manage it? I'm going to manage it right here, right now. And it doesn't have to go anywhere to invade my space. So anyway, one other thing I wanted to bring up tonight. I'm thinking about this article that's going to happen in Rochester because of this event they're having in Rochester. But you know, when they put out all these fires, did you know that they had airplanes spraying, you know, water? And you know what was in there? Formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is a flame retardant, but it's also used for embalming. It's also used for glues. It's on carpet padding, backing. Yeah, we're talking about various things that are actually, so chemicals that are found in tobacco smoke, they affect both the smoker and the secondary smoker. That means the one that is in that environment. It has carbon monoxide. So we're talking about all the things. Then we're talking about, it says formaldehyde is a major component that is embedded in embalming fluid. Oh my goodness, embalming fluid. Do you know that what it says here? It says it's legal to purchase and to process, and it will become popular and has become popular due to its euphoric properties. And what happens is that it becomes a neurotoxin. So imagine you're going to go to a funeral. We've just been to several of those, and there's a viewing, right? Well, it starts to off gas when at room temperature. So you're standing in the midst of volatile organic compounds. You know any funeral home directors? These are the kinds of thoughts to start thinking about. So do you have somebody that's going to be viewed? Do you have some family members? Bring this technology with you to bless everybody, BODY, and everybody. So we're starting to look at this, and we say that it can cause irritation to the skin and the eyes and the nose, and you know, it can cause even heart irregularity, palpitations. I know, throat itching. We're talking about technology that actually gifts life, every breath. So with that being said, Craig, I don't know if you were able to get the XL machine kind of like out for a little view. This is the new product. It's called the XL. It's a little larger. It has two of the, I call it the silver bullet. This is the technology inside that causes this technology to work. and it is CARB certified. That means that it does not produce ozone. But the beautiful part of this is it's 3,500 square feet, and it has a little bit larger coverage and classy. I love it. And how you actually clean the technology, it tells you when to clean it. Both pieces of equipment tells you when to clean it. And what you do, Craig has taken it apart already. Here's the membrane on the back. It's filterless technology. And you pull that off. And what you see in the inside is this beautiful technology. Now, these are a little bit larger. They're 7-inch size compared to this one is probably about a 6-inch or so. And so I like to say it's proactive. It is provisionally, and it's propelling living. So if you think about being provisional, it means that you're advanced thinking about how to manage what is coming at you. Now, studies. Tim talked about studies. We know that there's a lot of challenges in our hospital-acquired infections. We know that there's a lot of things that are going to be passed on. But did you know that MRSA, which is an antibiotic-resistant, antibiotics will not touch this, MRSA, and MRSA can live airborne for, are you ready? Lives airborne for 7 months. Airborne. Have a friend that actually had a car accident, went to a chiropractor, 2 weeks later, doesn't feel too good, goes to the doctor and says, hey, I feel terrible. And he says, well, let's run some tests. And they found out that he had MRSA. So Dwayne will probably tell the story too in a minute. But so the guy had MRSA. And he says, so where have you been in the past couple of weeks? He says, well, I've been to my chiropractor. That's it. You know, I just had this accident. I'm kind of like stationary. And so they went back to the chiropractor and found out that the person that was on the table before him had MRSA. Now, here's what's interesting about that. They put the Lysol, the spray, and they clean their surfaces, and they spray and wipe. And everything that has a ingredient called quaternary ammonium, and Lysol has quaternary ammonium. It's an active ingredient. It's, passes the sanitation test. Anyway, what happens is that it has to be on for 3 minutes or longer. And so, but it could be airborne. Are you hearing me? That person was in the environment. I'm going to give you a thought. Now, Dwayne, I don't know if you're out there, but when you have MRSA, you exhale MRSA. And when you re-inhale, you have it in the space and you re-inhale MRSA. You are reinfecting yourself over and over and over and over. How do you manage the situation? And that's the rest of the story. So we've got to look at this like, how can I right now change my environment so that I can inhale some healthier so-called oxygen, and that is not contaminated with these elements, so that my body can fight the battle and win. Fight and win. So there's lots of stories, but our product 100% takes down MRSA. And so we have studies. There are people that have lost their legs, lost limbs because of having this kind of like infection throughout their body. The body cannot fight and win any longer. C. difficile. There's the study for Cleveland Clinic. A lot of people are asking about Cleveland Clinic. That study is going to go on till January of 2024. And they're going to publish the results in June of 2024. Get ready. Get the technology now. So I'm going to say this. Many people are looking at like, what can I gift for gift of life? Start thinking now as the gift of life to give to all. So we don't know what, and we don't know when, and we don't know where, but we do know how to manage all of those pieces of this equation. So Craig Stevens, I know that we're going to be talking about the laundry pure, but there's a quaternary ammonium that is in our laundry detergent. And quaternary ammonium, there's a study that was done in 2009 that said we are, with quaternary ammonium, destroying what is called our respiratory system, our reproductive system, and one more thing, the mitochondria. It actually destroys the key communication of what goes on inside of our cells. This is what's happening with the laundry detergent, fabric softeners, dryer sheets, shampoo, baby wipes. We're wrapping our babies in this. We sleep in quaternary ammonium. We wear quaternary ammonium when you're washing your clothes and these chemicals. And that's the rest of the story. Craig Stevens, tell us.
Thank you, Liddy. A couple quick things on the air. I've had the honor of representing the company for 19 years, and the air technology was what we started with. Very quickly, just wanted to show you folks, how does it work without filters? Really well. Watch. This is a demonstrational half cubic foot of air. I made it full of smoke, which would be considered particulate. Your eye can only see about 2% of what's floating in the air. So I've already charged the box with smoke. Watch what happens when I turn the technology on that's inside the Air and Surface Pro and also the XL. 3, 2, 1, clean room. Now you can see me. So,
Craig,
yes,
can
sir.
I say one
Yes,
thing?
ma'am.
The PM 2.5, we said that children's brains cannot develop. Do you know what smoke is? It's PM 10.
Yeah, it's like
Not
four
2.5,
times,
it is 10, a smoke particle.
four
Okay.
times larger smoke is than the stuff that really goes after your insides. Also, Liddy mentioned it, so I'm going to go. I also had the honor of having the very first prototype of the Laundry Pure. After it was developed by the owner of the company, they made 20 prototypes. I got number 1 of 20. And this is just a lid. I have it up on my wall working, but it's called the Laundry Pure 2.0. It very simply hangs up above your washer. The cold water goes in, cold water comes out. And what it does is it activates the cold water with the same thing the Active Pure technology is doing to air. It recreates it in the water, looks like tonic water. And as Liddy said, my clothes, towels, and bedding haven't touched a drop of hot water or chemicals of any kind for the past 18 years. Procter & Gamble doesn't like it, but I certainly do. No more chemicals to buy, no more chemicals to wear or dry off with or sleep in. And breathe, because that's the big one Liddy just said. You're breathing those chemicals in. They're getting into your skin and inside of your body through your pores. Also, no dryer sheets. Matter of fact, for 18 years, I haven't had any static in my dryer. Normally, I used to reach in and get popped by the static charge of electricity. That doesn't happen because our unit doesn't allow static electricity to be charged. That's from leftover detergent crystallizing in the dryer. No lint either, folks. The lint is reduced by about 95%. So that's the Laundry Pure 2.0. It's amazing technology. There's no reason to be buying chemicals anymore and washing with them now that we have this technology. Check with whoever invited you on the call to find out more about that. But there is no reason we should be polluting our children and our grandchildren's future by continuing to pour chemicals in just because grandma taught mom taught us. This is not generational abuse of our children. We should stop the chemical addiction in the laundry room today with the Laundry Pure 2.0. So let's go to the living water, folks. So very quickly, before I do that, let me explain for those of you who are trying to understand the air unit. If you grew up watching Star Trek like I did, there's the Starship Enterprise, and look what the shields are up. Kind of the same thing with this ion field here. Our protection goes out from the machine. So it works with windows open, doors open, doesn't matter. It's not sucking anything in to trap it in a filter. It's knocking it down outside, which is where you want it to be knocked down. I don't need it to be drawing things into my house. I need it to be knocking it down outside. So tomorrow night, invite your friends. Let's get this call up to 100 people. We're going to go deep, deep, deep into what a living water appliance is. That's what it looks like. I've got it right behind me here on the table. And we say, try the water, feel the difference, spread the word. If you haven't tried this water out yet, you've got to get a hold of some of it. There's many people on the call who have one that have been drinking it for a while. There's some that have never tried it before. And the fun part of this is I own the bottling plant when I own this unit. Tomorrow night, we're going to learn that it makes 9 different usable waters, 4 for drinking, and I'll get into tomorrow night what the other waters are for. So you got a appliance that screws onto any faucet. Come tomorrow night and find out how to make running water. Like, look at that, waterfall water full of hydrogen. Running water is full of hydrogen. The missing link is hydrogen, okay? Let me show you. We call it the champagne of water. You can't even see through the glass. It's got so much hydrogen in it. And hydrogen is all energy. That's where power comes from. Come tomorrow night, bring your family, your friends, skeptics. We're going to show them what the water molecule looks like, what we're doing to it, how the technology works, go in depth. We're going to talk about microclustering tomorrow night. What does that mean? Got to come tomorrow night to find out. And what's exciting about tomorrow night's call is I don't just talk about it. We're not selling anything. We're going to make you so interested in the technology, you're going to want to try it. And once people try it, they're going to fall in love with the results they get, because what we market with Vollara is results. We don't have to sell anything. Our air units work, our laundry technology is amazing, and our water machine produces the highest quality water. This is not high quality water, folks. That is basically filtered tap water in a bottle with chemicals. There is no regulatory authority that oversees, as long as they start with a safe source of water. There's nobody that oversees this. Most unregulated industry in the world is the bottled water industry. Come tomorrow night, find out why you may want to rethink your beverage choice if you're drinking carbonated beverages. I'm not talking soda with all the sugar. If you drink those, I'll really convince you that's probably not a good, healthy choice for you and your family. So tomorrow night, we're going to educate people what the pH scale is, what that means, what all the pretty colors are, all the rainbow colors there. So I'm excited, Liddy, about having people come. Look, I have an electric car, so I was charging one day, and a guy saw my signs on my car, and he's from Canada, and they have this water called Flow water. Let me just tell you, tomorrow night, you're going to find out even our water, if you let it sit around, even if you let the water sit for just a few days, it comes right back together. You cannot keep water micro-clustered. You have to charge it. You have to put it through the process. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk about what AIMM stands for, what micro-clustering really is, and the do's and don'ts. We're going to talk about cancer tomorrow night and what cancer causes. We're going to find out who uses it. Tomorrow night, we're even going to discuss businesses that opened up, like this one. It's called the Hydration Room. They have 3 of them in Southern California. I found them when I was visiting my family in SoCal. And we're going to find out what are you talking about, Craig? Tomorrow night, you bring your family. 95% of all Americans are clinically dehydrated, folks. That means you are dehydrated. Everyone, not me. I drink at least 240 ounces of this wonderful fountain of youth at my faucet water, full of hydrogen. And what it does to the skin is unbelievable. Don't have to put any kind of moisturizer on. I'm moisturizing from the inside out, Liddy. And tomorrow night, we're going to teach people how to do that. And please, don't ignore your furry family members. That's my granddogger, Sylvie, my son's dog. She's gorgeous. She has, the entire time since she came to my son's house when she was 6 or 8 weeks old, she has never had anything put in her water bowl except for living water. Find out why it's so important to give your pets water that's more natural. Animals and children know, folks, what they should and shouldn't be drinking, and they certainly don't line up for poisoned pond water in a bottle or from your faucet. Tomorrow night, we're going to go through my water quality report from a city water. I'm on well water, but I have a hydrant in town. We're going to talk about what it says on there and what sodium fluoride really is. The fluoride they're putting in your city water is not fluoride that's good for your teeth. Tomorrow night, we're going to discuss what that really is, why we need to make sure it's not in your water. We'll also discuss who's using the water machine, like my professional athletes that I found and are all using my living water. So, Lydia, I'm excited about showing people what living water is, how it works, and why tomorrow night I'll do a party trick. I'm going to take a dry tea bag put it in cold water that I make from the machine tomorrow night. And in 1 minute, I'm going to turn a dry tea bag into fully steeped tea, Liddy. It's an amazing, fun, and exciting thing. And it's not a trick. It's actual science. So please join us tomorrow night. Join, like my friend Gary Russell Jr., WBC world champion boxer. He's got our H2 fuel in his hand. Come tomorrow night and find out exactly what the H2 fuel is all about. Liddy's got hers lit up. Tomorrow we're going to find out what that does, what it really is designed to do, and how you can use it on a daily basis like I do and Liddy does to make sure that we keep our living water full of life. And you're going to find out what living means in living water. But Liddy, I'm excited about tomorrow night's call. Please feel free to invite. And if you have anybody that's drinking these pH waters, Liddy, if anybody does, and they claim that they're 9.5 pH on there, come tomorrow night. I'm going to ruin it for them. Just tell them this is a biggest waste of money on the planet. And tomorrow night, if you bring them, I'm going to teach them how to save a ton of money and to stop drinking this junk that they're not even going to absorb in their body. So, Liddy, I'm excited about tomorrow night, and I cannot wait to have people invite a person or two. Let's load the call up, and let's get educated on how water actually works in the human body and what type of water your body craves and desires every day. Thank
Amen.
you.
Thank you to that. Oh my gosh. So, I'm going to say this, Craig. What I was thinking about while you were speaking tonight is that a lot of people, and I thought about this years ago, that a lot of people buy insurance. And I started thinking about, like, when does insurance pay off? Well, it pays you when you're sick or when you die. And I thought to myself, I don't even want, what am I leaving a legacy? So what am I leaving? So I started looking at this whole thing like, if I'm going to leave a legacy, I'm going to leave a legacy. But if I'm going to leave a living legacy, I have to step over this conversation and rethink this a minute. So I thought, you know what? I'm not going to buy insurance, but I'm going to buy assurance. And I started looking at the savings, the mental acuity. I sent our grandsugars every year the Replenish when the school starts, and they take a shot of that. They call it their brain food. This is Nana's brain food called Replenish. Well, they just called me to report to me that the report cards are straight A's, and they're so excited. Now, I had an agreement if they drink that and that they would come with straight A's, that I would pay them. So now they get paid because I believe in assurance. I assure the health and vitality. Well, one of them had a little bike accident and cut his head open, and so he needed 6 stitches. But I said, you know what? Your body's going to heal because it knows what to do, when to do it, where to do it, how to do it 24/7. But you give your body the gift of life as to what could possibly happen. And so I have a saying that says, I was ready for that. Whatever that is. I'm not so sure what that is going to mean for you. I don't know what it's going to mean for me from day to day. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be ready for that. I'm good, but because I bought into the assurance plan. So how do we do that? So every product that we've talked about, Active Pure is active 24/7, purifying air and surface, sanitizing it from even the food you buy at the farmer's market, from the grocery store. Somebody sneezes, somebody walks in with MRSA, they don't even know it. And you know what? It's airborne. I start thinking of it like this. I want you to know, I put the groceries on the counter and I leave it on the counter and I walk away for about an hour and then I go and, put it away. But I'm starting to think about what's on it. I don't even know from where it was to from harvest to grocery store to my home in my body. So I'm starting to think through all that. Now, here's the cool thing. Tomorrow night, when you have fruits and vegetables and you start thinking about this, you're going to put them in a dilution of water. And it's going to start taking and washing off the exterior, which is the bacteria that destroys it. How many of you have had a problem? You buy some fresh vegetables, and it seems like not even 3, 4, 5 days later, it used to last for weeks in my refrigerator. It lasts for days. Well, you can take that personal that Craig has around his neck, you can put it in your refrigerator. But if you wash your vegetables and you take all that bacteria that's eating them you know what? It doesn't destroy. So I'm still thinking about assurance. I'm thinking about what's going in, and I'm thinking about what I'm buying. I want value. I want value of life. So really the bottom line matters. But then if I wear these toxins and then I have it going through all my pores, my largest organ, and my kidney, liver, and spleen, do you know that the number one facility that they are, it's called erecting, is these kidney dialysis centers? Kidney dialysis centers. What is that telling you? The kidneys are shutting down, overworked, underpaid. How do we do this? We're talking about assurance, everybody, what I can do. Every one of these calls last night was talking about obesogens and talking about how we can actually, this is fat. This is where your obesogens lay in your body. And so there's little articles about lose weight, easy, non-surgical. You know, we talked about Keto Zone. You know, the company's giving us some products to even give away. Yeah, I get products that I can give away, and I can, you know, get this garbage out of my own system. And then tonight, you know, from the outside, we're talking about the air. I like to say it. Toxic air and surfaces, we have active pure, active 24/7. Then we talked about the water. Water is toxic, but it's not dead water. It's called living water. We're talking about living versus dead water. RO, you're going to hear about that. You're going to hear about, you know, you might say distilled water. You know, yeah, it's not very living, just saying. And then we say toxic laundry. You wear toxins all day long and you're trying to survive. Check this out. This is like, doesn't look like anything but a death ceremony. And this looks like I get to thrive. That's called bundle it, called your assurance plan. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. And you have to ask yourself the question, if not me, who? If not this, what? And if not now, when? That's it. Get back in touch with the person that invited you and just share your gratitude for the invitation because they cared about your living legacy. And to leave a living legacy is what matters. So I thank you